Why'd you have to go crazy now? Don't you talk back? Momo, can you calm down? Calm down. Ah, Momo. Okay. Hiya. Hi. Okay. So hi guys! Today I have something a little bit different, although very much the same. Casey from Casey and Books approached me on Instagram and asked if I wanted to be a part of this book vlog tour. And the newbie that I am, I had no idea how it works or what it is, but I said yes nonetheless. And basically what it is, there's a train of booktubers that review the same book at the same month. I will insert the schedule somewhere here so you can see who's reviewing this book and when. And again, the newbie that I am, I didn't know that they give out those books for free, so I went out and bought one, but it's okay because I really ended up enjoying the book, so I don't mind supporting the author. Anyway, thank you Casey for inviting me, and I'll link her channel down below if you guys don't know her already, and I'll try and link all the other participants down below as well. And I'm sure you guys already know what the book is, but I should probably show you at some point, right? Cats, can you calm down? So instead of just having a book review for the tour, I'm also gonna include a book talk because I also selected this book to be my November's book in the jar, and the book is Afterimage by Kowallis. Kowallis? I don't know if you can see it through the glare, but it's a book in the jar. I'm gonna take it out of the jar. It has a beautiful cover and it's a beautiful... Whoop! Okay then. It has a beautiful cover, it has beautiful context, and it's just beautiful. Now you might be thinking, what the hell is a book in a jar? And that's okay, because I don't know for sure either yet. Book in a jar is gonna be like a lazy TBR. I'm gonna select the book, put it in a jar, post it on Instagram to let you guys know which book I'm gonna definitely read and review and have a book talk on that month. And if somebody decides to read it with me, then it can be like a tiny book club, because why not? And hopefully somebody at some point will, so then I can also speak about it in more detail on Instagram with you guys. I love Instagram. Go on Instagram. It's fun. Hopefully I'll make it a little bit more different. Maybe I'll film it in a different location with a different vibe. Maybe it's gonna be more chill, maybe it's gonna be more in-depth. I'm not very certain at the moment, but since this is also a part of the tour, I'm just gonna stick to the usual format. And yeah, I did have a pleasure to speak with the author, and she sounds lovely. She sounds like such an adorable and really friendly and approachable person. And then I think the third book is coming out soon, and there's a second one, and I'm not sure if it's a trilogy or not, but there's at least 3 books. But yeah, anyway, that was the longest introduction I've ever done. I'll try and keep everything much shorter than my usual book talks, because Jesus, I just can't shut up, can I? I really fell in love with so many characters from here. It was definitely a character-driven book. However, it was also fast-paced, so it was perfect for this massive book hangover that I had. It's really difficult to put Afterimage into a category because I think it has a mixture of genres. It definitely has a science fiction feel to it. It definitely has a dystopian feel to it. I wouldn't call this a romance novel, but it does have love elements in it. It definitely is YA friendly, but I don't think it's constricted to YA. A person of any age can read this and be fine with the contents. Maybe not middle grade, because some scenes do have violence and it gets not too graphic, but it does get graphic. I think this book is also really suitable for people interested in sci-fi that deals with the psychological side of it, anything with person's cognition and memory. So we have multiple perspectives. I think there were only a few characters that we didn't have a perspective from, if they are main characters. However, I really liked how we led to distinguish which character is actually the main one, because all chapters are written from a third-person perspective, except from Reggie, and Reggie's chapters are actually written from the first-person perspective. So I thought that was really brilliant, and I can't say that I've seen this in any other books. Maybe I just didn't notice in other books, but I think that was very original and really interesting. We don't know for certain how old Reggie is, but I think she's in late 20s, mid 20s, and Reggie is a person who is used as a weapon because of her cognition and her abilities. Reggie's mind presents her with some images from the future. Those can be of herself or of other people, and while usually those would be in the form of a dream while she's asleep, suddenly the nature of her abilities is starting to change, and with those abilities Reggie changes, and because of the context of those premonitions, if you will, she regains hope that maybe she will be able to stop the people who are using her as a weapon and pretty much escape her current reality. We basically follow a group of outcast people who are approached by a person from a public who's also pleading for their help. Those outsiders are very restless as of what is happening, and they're not happy with the situation, and some of them are really restless to start doing something. Some of them obviously have different opinions, but somehow all of them get tangled in this affair, and that main group meets Reggie, and together they try and defeat the system that is clearly so messed up on so many levels. The way the public treats humans is just the torture instrument. I thought those were so cruel and brilliant. I really enjoyed the torture in this book. I know it sounds a bit weird. The way they're treating the citizens of the public is really scary. It definitely has a dystopian feel to it. I feel like dystopia in this book really reminded me of eugenics movement. So it was just trying to breed a perfect human, and it's bloody terrifying. If you take all the emotions out of people and just leave them with pure rationality and practicality, and that's what drives you, suddenly it's really terrifying. Somehow feels a bit more fresh than your usual dystopian. Maybe it's because it also has this steampunk feel to it, and usually dystopians are all a bit glamoured. I for once actually really found it so refreshing that the main characters were not even teenagers who are obviously brave as hell. You know, as we did have a teenager with the main characters, but there were so many main characters. It wasn't the focus. It wasn't the focus of, you know, like, oh, this poor kid now has to fight for its life. So I really did enjoy that. Whilst I do enjoy the normal dystopians as well, I think this was so much more unique. Now obviously all books come with their cons. As a reader, I always see some sort of cons that for me personally were a bit you know. I do believe that the plot was predictable. I did predict quite a lot whilst reading, and the other thing that did bug me is at the beginning when we have a character named Liam and Nate talking to each other, there's quite a lot of sexist remarks. It bugged me, even though I do understand that this is for the sake of being realistic, and most of these remarks came from a dialogue. This is not a spoiler, but the actual quote was, Liam talked more than any woman Nate had ever known, and it doesn't sit with me well. I hate stereotypes. I just don't like it. I don't think it should come out of the narrator. If you put it in a dialogue, it's fine by me. I just feel like narrator shouldn't say stuff like that. But other than that, I really cannot pick out anything. I gave this book 4.5 stars out of 5, which is a really brilliant rating if you ask. I'm not shy with my 5 stars, but I also don't just like throw them out everywhere. 4.5 stars. Really good book. Really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for a dystopian that's a bit fresher than your normal dystopian, there you go. So if you haven't read this book, you should stop now, and I'm gonna move on to my very short book talk because I've been filming for ages and I have a horrible feeling this is gonna be just as long as all the other one. Bye! Bye people who haven't read the book. Bye. So the first and most random point about this book, one of my favorite beauty YouTubers, Estee Lalonde, has a dog named Reggie, and I couldn't get over the fact that I kept thinking that I'm reading about a dog whenever there was a Reggie chapter, because it's Reggie. So that was quite interesting because it just made it so funny, although the chapters really weren't. I'm just gonna throw it out there, the dryer dude had to die, and if he wouldn't have died, I would be so pissed because that dude is cruel as hell. Not only did he mess with her dreams and obviously recorded her dreams or visions and then replayed it and somehow inserted that painful injection thing that I can only assume somehow triggers her mind and puts her in so much pain, and he would trigger that if she's not cooperative. But he was also sort of attempting to infuse a Stockholm syndrome in her. He was pretending that he's almost a parent to her when obviously he isn't, but he would put thoughts like, you know, this is your home, nobody's gonna love you more than I do, nobody's gonna want you, we're the only family you have. On some level, she must have thought that he was right, because we did glimpse some thoughts and some disturbing feelings from her and regarding this, since she doesn't actually recall her 15 or so years before she came to the lab. So this sort of life is all she knows. So we know that she knows that this is not your everyday life, so it's really easy to just give up. But thankfully she has those visions that Nate is coming for her, and then she also had these visions that Nate is looking at her with like love in his eyes. But then we have London, who's like a 16 or 15-year-old boy, and he falls in love with Reggie because it's an outsider. I feel like every other female was his mother's age, and also he grew up with them, so it does feel probably like just being surrounded by aunts. So whenever you throw like fresh meat, I'm not surprised that he felt it towards her. But it still was so excruciating, because obviously Reggie was being nice to him because he was being nice to her, especially at the beginning when Nate is just being so painful to read through. Nate was not a nice guy at the beginning. He was such a butthurt dude that it really reminded me of Harry Potter in the book 5, because I couldn't stand it. It felt like Nate was acting more like a teenager. Obviously Nate ended up being with Reggie. I think the saddest by far bit happened definitely in the first 100 pages of the book, because Liam, man, because usually authors don't kill off the funny characters, so I wasn't expecting it. So this was probably the only surprise that I got from this book. When Liam did actually die, I was so sad, because it's like Fred all over again. I know I keep making Harry Potter references, but just deal with it, it's gonna happen. Liam was so funny and I didn't want him to die, and I was like, oh my god, now Nate is gonna be even more whiny because he's gonna blame himself for that. I don't want to deal with it. And he was a pain. I think that's where Olivia's full potential came out. You fall in love with Olivia because Olivia is in love with Nate. There's so many love triangles going on. I did find them really believable, especially in a small group like this. Everyone's gonna try and pair up, and I understand why Nate just took a shot, because he didn't know any better and he thought death breathing to your neck probably didn't help his decision-making skills, but at the same time he knew, and we know, that he was making a wrong decision. And Olivia is such a sweet girl that even though she loved Nate, she still took Reggie's side. She's the only person who was treating Reggie like as a person, because everyone somehow did not comprehend that she's a person. I was feeling so bad for Reggie, but anyway, so that just makes it even more horrible when Reggie actually starts seeing Nate and Olivia is just there dying. Sort of glad that Olivia died. If she would have lived, I was afraid that Nate is gonna be, you know, all blaming himself all over again, Reggie betraying Olivia's trust and whatnot. I just didn't want to deal with that, so I'm sort of glad that she did die. I'm hoping she actually did die and it wasn't like faked on the screen or something. I haven't read the second book, so I don't know if Nate is still gonna pull I was supposed to protect Olivia and then she died on my watch and she thought that I was in love with her. He's gonna use this as an excuse to not date Reggie. God, I hope that's not what happens, but if it does, I'll deal with it. I have high hopes that it's not gonna happen, because we already sort of have an approval from Ben. Ben is like Santa Claus. I feel like Ben is the approachable dude that just keeps everybody calm, has like that inner strength that everybody admires, and I really like Ben. He's like Dumbledore. Oh look, a Harry Potter comparison. How out of character of me. I really like that this book is so character driven. It kept me going. It was so frightening how they made all public citizens be so emotionless, but they're still fully functioning. So it's not like you're actually taking their free will, you're just eliminating their emotions, making the most rational human beings, most practical and rational human beings, and it's terrifying. Who knew that rational human beings are terrifying? I understand they're trying to make a perfect human being. They're also experimenting with their kids, which are not really their kids, they're just sort of fostered by a family that are put together. They don't feel anything towards each other because they don't have emotions to feel with. So, you know, they don't know if they like each other, but they coexist and they are a good pairing, and so they get children who are not affected by this low of emotion, but they are raised until they're 5 or 9 or something like that, and then they're returned to the public for further education, which is basically seeing who has what power and I don't know, raising superhumans, but it was just so bizarre. Everyone was so peaceful. It's terrifying. So coming back to Nate being annoying, I understand that this is a person who's suffering from a lot of loss and thing, but he fostered London, and I feel that he's so overprotective that it was so clear that it's not gonna end up well. The more you suffocate someone, the more they're gonna kick back. I knew that London's gonna do something stupid, and the whole shitstorm of stupid, the injections that simulate your bones breaking is so terrifying. I can't even speak about it. Just thinking about it, like, oh. I did find it very hilarious when they go into the hospital and everyone's so calm. So even if you would have a chopped up arm, you would go in and the people would just sit there and like not scream or not cry, but just sort of like frown a little bit, and the nurse would just say, oh, how inconvenient, let me get the doctor. It was such a hilarious and brilliant scene. Another brilliant scene that I really loved was when they're executing their plan. She kills Dreyer, which is great. She's counting backwards from 100, and I was walking to work, and I was just reading this book while waiting for my train to commute to work. I had my earphones in and I had a radio, and on the radio was some sort of mixture of like house and dubstep, and it just went so well with that scene that it was just like watching a movie. It was so graphic and it was so theatrical, and I just loved that bit so much. I think it's maybe my favorite bit in the book. So all in all, I really did enjoy this book. I'm so glad that I have all my memories and I don't have to just invent the person that I am. What if she remembers stuff? What if she remembers the before the lab, and what if she just becomes a completely different person? That is scary as hell. This book makes you appreciate all your memories that you had, because memories make a person. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a quick thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye. Why did I clap here? Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's soap. It smells like everything I have ever wanted in my life. Guys, this smells of freedom.